Okay, the next section I'd like to give you an overview of was presented by Simon Taylor of PTC, and it really summarized the APP integration into the rest of the Arbortext publishing suite. Simon's kindly agreed to let me use his slides, and I've extracted most of them here to give you a bit of an overview of how APP is being used and the benefits for APP and Arbortext customers. So an overview of Arbortext products and the general publishing process. So this graphic we'll see a few times during the presentation. It gives us really just an overview of a common workflow that can be achieved with Arbortext products. The main, I suppose you could say, default workflow for an automated solution using full Arbortext product suite. So on the left-hand side there, under the left column, we'll see the creation process of what it may be, CAD drawings, detailed technical drawings, XML generation and editing in the Arbortext editor, style sheet generation and management using Arbortext Styler, and if required, Arbortext APP Desktop can also be used to enhance certain publishing features and requirements. The central section there gives us a view of how ACM, Arbortext Content Manager, can be used in a workflow content management system that would work with the input content and also interact with Arbortext Publishing Engine, which contains APP composition functionality as well as other bits and pieces that we'll see. And there on the right hand side we'll just have the deliverables, whatever's chosen from your requirements, print, PDF, paper, web help, EPUB, whatever it may be. So what is APE, Arbortext Publishing Engine? And it's a server-based single system that provides an end-to-end ability to pull XML and unstructured data from maybe content management systems or other applications, business applications, to automatically generate multiple outputs for different medium, so whether it be print, web help, etc. And it uses a number of products from the Arbortext range depending on the requirements. But it's really an integrated system for all needs, right through from creation, management to production. So the Arbortext Publishing Engine itself, the way it works, the kind of the workflow behind it, it's a client or a web browser, for example, editor or content management, sends an HTTP or SOAP request to the web server. So this request is then interpreted by the web server and put through to Publishing Engine. So this request is managed by the Publishing Engine, and if you are a former or current Arbortext APP Enterprise customer, formerly ACS or 3.2 PM as it used to be called, you'll be familiar with a queuing system for jobs. You would send a job file, whether it be through a socket or FTP or whatever a job file request, comes into the system and is managed as a separate job. So that job would tell it what's my data, what's my template, what's my configuration, and that would then be held in the queue. In the enterprise version of APP, you would have the option to have different priority queues. Publishing Engine has a similar concept in terms of request or job queue managers. So it will process them in order and according to what the nature of their request is. The composition framework, a part of Publishing Engine, will contain one or many of the Arbortext products from the suite. So if the request is from Arbortext Editor to paginate an XML file using a certain style sheet through Publishing Engine, it may use APP, and that request would come through to the composition framework, and the various components would be selected, i.e. APP composition. That composition would take place on the server or another connected agent, and once the process is complete, that is responded back to the application where it was sent from. So it's really an overall framework, a service for managing many different requests, whether it be a conversion request or a HTML help, compiler output, PDF output, and various other things, data conversion, data merging. It can be handled by publishing engine. So it's really the top end of a requirement you may have in terms of a fully automated publishing system. What is Styler? Styler is a style sheet creation and management interface. It allows you to create a single style sheet that can output to multiple different formats. So in a traditional environment, you would have many different style sheets. You may be creating a style sheet to deliver a PDF, and that would use an APP template. You may want to create an XSLFO template, style sheet, CSS for web, for example. So all these things would have need to have been created independently and separately for the different output requirements. Styler gives you the ability to create a single style sheet and specify multiple different output formats. So it allows you to manage that and simplifies the creation process, and gives you a nice GUI interface to actually develop all those style sheets. So where does Styler sit in terms of the workflow? It's part of the process that you would create at the beginning. You would create your style sheets, and these would be used by Arbortext Publishing Engine to determine how the different output mediums should be handled, should be formatted, and how the data should be controlled during those processes. So the Styler user interface. Normally you would see a DTD or a schema being read into the Styler to give us the content, the element content of what would normally be passed through the system, and each one of those elements can be styled as necessary. Each one allows different contexts and hierarchical tests to change the formatting of that particular element. So if you have a paragraph used in a chapter or a paragraph used in a table, you can differentiate quite quickly through the GUI interface where those elements will be used in context and what the differences should be on their output. As I say, contexts, conditions, conditional tests. For example, using XPath, you can conditionally test based on your own XPath expression to see what you want to do. The style sheet can be selected to be purely just for, say, PDF output, or HTML, or another output that you've chosen, or it can be used for all outputs. So you can have one default style sheet to use for all outputs, depending on what outputs you need. And the style sheet, as well as providing output for the different media, the PDF, the HTML, also provides a style sheet to render the content in the Arbortext editor window. So if you want to present that content in a certain way with certain colors and fonts and formats to the operator, the editor who's working on the XML, the Styler product will allow you to do this as well. The full-fledged version of Styler is a separate product. Within the Arbortext editor itself, there is a slim version of Styler which allow you to create style sheets for the editor view. So to summarize the Styler outputs, can be generated is HTML based on the XML content, web-rich outputs, HTML help, PDF to print to a certain type of PDF print or PostScript, APP now by default, RTF if you wanted to go outputs to Word from your XML to the style that you've set up in Word will come out as an RTF export. If you wanted to use the import functionality, you can come from Word, so technically you can have the round-tripping import-export through that functionality into Editor. Digital Media Publisher, various electronic outputs that you might need to produce, and Editor, as I said, gives you the styling capabilities of how the XML content looks in the Editor window. And I'm reliably informed that EPUB will be a new output that's available in Arbortext 6 release M20. So just a brief look at some of the different screens that you have in Styler, the GUI interface for developing style sheets. In Styler you have the schema or the DTD read into Styler and gives you the list of elements you can optionally style. You don't have to style everything. Many elements in a common XML DTD will just be containers, so they may be defined as blocks or may be defined as no style elements, depending on what you need them to do in order to manipulate or render the content in the output. There's also additional elements, user formatting elements, styler formatting elements, elements that are not physically present in a schema or DTD, but you can generate to insert after or before certain elements that do physically exist to allow Styler to hook onto these elements and perform some functions during the output process. So for example, if you have an element marking the position where your table of contents wishes to go, you may create your own user element that runs a table of contents process and would be inserted for the output purposes only after your TOC marker position. Okay, so contexts, easy to use, build through the interface, and you can also add in if-else conditions to those elements to have very powerful formatting. Property sets, something that's used throughout many style sheets. It's an optional feature, but it's very useful to use. You can combine property sets. You can set up different property sets for different parts of your documents. Very much like a concept would be the default tags in APP, or something called prop-get would build up property sets and allow them to be reused in other parts of the documents. If you require CSS output, then you must use property sets as well. Page sets, think of document sequences in APP. This will allow you to define page styles, page sets that are used within the style sheet and the formatting of the output. These page sets can be defined sort of page margins, gutter widths, page numbering, and then also based on conditions. So you may have a second blank page after the table of contents, or you may want to set a certain style for left or right hand pages. So this is a conditional option added to a page set. Generated content, automatically generated content, I suppose the equivalent of what would be showstring in APP. For headers, footers, watermarks, page numbers, side tab content, those kinds of things, you can set up generated content functions in the style sheet and apply them to different parts of the document, and whether they be parts of the page or parts of the tagging output. Tables of contents, something that can automatically be produced from the Styler GUI interface. for the various different outputs, different design and layout capabilities of the table of contents. Of course, now the options and the format you can have table of contents have now been enhanced because APP is in the background, and you can hook into the functionality of that and have some quite weird and wonderful tables of contents design. So you can restrict the scope of TOC entries, manage the hierarchies, specify which title appears, and various other elements that are allowed for, as you'd expect in many tables of contents, all set up from the GUI. Custom tables, very useful feature. If we think about how we might use custom tables, we could think of something that appears on the page in a tabular format but isn't actually marked up as a table. For example, a list is quite a common one, especially in APP for many years. Whenever we've encountered lists within a document, especially nested lists and different bullets and numbers and things, it's quite common that you would choose to use the table feature set to mark those up and manage the nesting and the indents and the alignments through that. So custom tables really are a feature to allow you to use table logic on non-table markup on whatever elements that it may be. So it doesn't have to be CALs or HTML tables. You can be your own markup. You can just apply table start, table end, rows, cells, things like that. Cross-references, again, very easy to set up. Something that took a little bit of thought in APP with show strings in the past. You'd have to consider all the different elements and storing the values, different compatibilities and inheritance, forward, backward formatting, things like that. In cross-references in Styler, it's nice and easy to set up, even if it uses now APP in the background to set it up automatically. So how does APP fit into Styler and Publishing Engine? APP is now integrated fully into both Styler and PE. It's integrated in terms of a DLL that's now installed with those products. It doesn't run off the same desktop installation. That is a separate installation and executable. New style sheets created by Styler will by default have APP selected as the formatting engine behind the PDF and print outputs. PTC have spent a lot of time trying to get the APP outputs close to FOSSI as possible, which is the traditional language of the style sheet used, but some subtle differences still occur, but the benefits of what APP can do for you will hopefully outweigh those differences if you're making the transition from FOSSI. So I'm going to have a short demo where we have a DocBook style sheet, one of the style sheets that's installed with Styler, an editor, just to show you a small addition using APP and an APP template to enhance one small capability. So in this screen we can see the view of an Arbortext editor. As I say, this is just an installed sample that we've taken and enhanced, and the style sheet, if we look at the style sheet, it's going to give us this output onto the editor view, but this is just for the authors. It's in order to edit the content. What we're interested in is really the PDF output and what's going to happen when I ask to produce this as a PDF. Now if we look into the style sheet that's being controlling this output, if I look back at the beginning, we can see all the different tags of the DocBook XML DTD listed here and how they're all set up. Emphasis within line tag, copyright as a block, col spec table. So they're all been set up as one of the samples. The outputs, base output, whether it be PDF, whatever, you might be doing PDF and print, none of the others, so that's your choice there. One of the things we looked at, page sets, we have in this style sheet a main body, an index, book, and appendix. Page types, different types of page, layout throughout the document. And this tab here we have page regions. Now what we want to do is manipulate a color definition that's been used in the side tabs of this PDF or the resulting PDF to enhance a limitation that's currently there through the styler interface. So if I looked at this sidebar right, for example, and on the other tab I've seen the background color available is this blue color. Now I can specify a number of different colors, hex values, custom colors, and various things. But what I can't do at the moment is add a gradient color. Now this is something that's available in APP, so even though the current GUI doesn't have that as a straightforward option just from the drop down, you can take advantage of that functionality. Now that's done in this instance by adding, if we look at the properties of this style sheet, for print PDF, the engine is APP, and we have an associated APP template. Within this template we have a single tag which is a color definition tag, and that definition is a color gradient. So there's nothing else in that template. We're just going to add the template and add a hook into calling that particular color gradient. So when it's formatted using the APP engine, it will use that and recognize that. So on this particular page region, if we look at the page region source in APP, those that have embarked on investigating FOM, the JavaScript FOM language in APP, might be familiar with some of these commands. If we look at this particular section here, we see frame background color has been commented out. That stores the original hex color definition from the drop-down menu, and it's been overridden here by the same command again, but calling the tag called blue gradient. Now that calls the color definition tag from the 3D template that's been associated with the style sheet. So when we preview the PDF, we should get that blue gradient fill in our sidebars. So if we go to the Arbortext window and print preview, it's going to take this XML and format it using APP and the style sheet that's been set. Okay, here we are. So if we go down a couple of pages, we can see there that the sidebar that was set up with the styler interface has taken the color definition that we've set in the APP template and not the original one that was specified, which was the flat blue color. So that just gives you a small glimpse of the kinds of things that you can do if you know that can be done in APP. You can't find it or know about it in the styler interface. You can tap into any of the features available in APP using source code edits. Okay, so we see on screen there that original flat blue color has been replaced. So just a quick example. Many more features can be accessed through the styler interface, and the rest, or many of the others, can be added in some way through APP's functionality. So really, for existing Arbortext users that want to print PDF, there's no reason not to use APP now. It's fully integrated, it's very well integrated, it gives you much more enhanced functionality in a number of areas, especially Asian and Middle Eastern formatting, languages, and some of the more complex formatting requirements you might have. For APP users, it's good to note that this styler is not really intended as the new user interface for APP. It's really to enhance the capabilities of styler by having APP at the back end. But APP users aren't expected to then purchase styler and be able to use this. It's quite possibly an option if you need multiple output formats other than PDF. Styler could well be the answer for your needs there. with the added ability that you can take your existing APP templates and run them through Styler as well. Okay. So to summarize the ways that APP can be used inside Styler or accessed inside Styler, both for existing Styler and Arbortext users and APP users looking at some of the other functionality of the Arbortext suite. You can select APP as the composition engine for your Styler style sheet and then build up the style sheet from the user interface. Obviously that uses APP in the background, but you don't see any APP code. It's all done through the Styler GUI. You can extend your APP Styler style sheet with source code edits, as we saw in the demonstration, where you can manipulate at a code level with additional codes and conditions and instructions a particular tag or a particular component of the style sheet to make it do what you wish if it's not available from a drop-down, for example. You can extend further the functionality. If you have APP Desktop already, you can build your functionality in whichever tool set or feature set or way you want to use it in APP and associate that template with your style sheet and then call the functions accordingly, whether it be through a particular tag element call as we did in the demonstration, or whether it be calling an additional script or done some tests with proof of concepts that calls an XSLT. You can also use native APP templates with Styler and APE. Now, whether you have APP already or not, you may have developed your own APP style sheets or templates outside of the Styler environment. If you wish to use those and not redevelop them, quite possibly one of the best options you can have if you're an experienced APP developer and you have Styler and Publishing Engine, you can associate your templates you've already built with a Styler style sheet and then therefore use them throughout Styler and APE. One final option worth noting, you can Touchup compose jobs. So during a general Arbortext process, the composition would be automated. It would be automatic routine to compose that document and to generate the output. Generally, there is no option to take that composed file and do some small finishing work on it. Now, if you're using APP, if you're using a fully developed APP template that's associated with your style sheet, you can then retrieve that composed file as a 3D file after formatting in order then to perform Touchup. It must be a native APP template. It can't be an associated template with some styler code. It has to be a fully native APP template, but you can, once composed through PE or Styler, you can then extract or retrieve that composed file as a 3D for touch-up processes, minor edits, and then final print. So just a brief review on the future plans. Simon will go into more depth on this, so I won't take up too much of this, but just worth noting that Styler and APE will be extended further during the next few releases to expose more of APP features and functionality to the Styler interface and therefore the rest of the Arbortext suite. APP user interface rewrite, Simon will talk more about that. Steps to help you migrate between Styler and APP, and an important one for APP enterprise users, that the eventual goal is to standardize the functionality that you get with enterprise onto the publishing engine platform. So once the features and functionality have been absorbed into the new platform and all the functionality that needs to be ported is there, then Enterprise will not be available and PE will take over this mantra of the functionality that you get with Enterprise. Okay, if there's any questions on this these past few sections, please feel free to post them on the questions box or ask them after the next session, and we'll try to answer them for you. Thank you very much.